and welcome to this edition of The Portal, a doorway which takes you into the latest happenings around the world of technology, leadership, and business. Today is extra special. Today, we're going to be talking about a state-of-art technology that is actually quite old, and that's kind of paradoxical. I'm talking about blockchain and Web 3.0. To help me have this conversation, I have from the world of who's who, a gentleman who has been immersed in the field of blockchain and Web 3.0 for more than a decade. His name is Varun Singhi. He's recognized amongst the top 40 influencers in this area. He's an alumni of MIT Sloan, and is currently the Chief Strategy Officer of a company called PropFTX. It's a very insightful conversation that I'm hoping you will have with us. And for sure, I'm promising that this is going to be something new and a deep learning for every one of us. Varun, a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. Happy to be here.
I also know that you wrote this book called Blockchain Consortiums, right?
Right.
And that's a funny title for a book. What does this mean, blockchain consortiums?
So let me go back to 2020, when this technology started evolving. So from the business point of view, there was no clear guidance, right? How business can leverage blockchain. And that is the time we thought, why not come out with a comprehensive guide for business practitioners to get the head start on how do they can plan blockchain. Right?
So this is not a technical book in the sense?
No, not technical. There are a lot of resources available, but we wanted to help the business leaders who actually take the decision on how to implement blockchain.
So this is more from a business, from a strategic perspective. It helps business leaders understand blockchain but not really implement it, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, the first question, if you go to any boardroom, what's the ROI? Right? So this book tries to answer that question.
Fantastic. This is a fantastic segue into my first question. What on earth is blockchain? Right? As I assume I'm a non-techie, I don't know anything about it. Please help me understand what blockchain is.
Absolutely, and I've heard this question a million times.
I'm sure you have.
Yes, and I'll do justice to this question.
Thank you.
So first thing when it comes to mind, blockchain is a cutting-edge technology, and I think during the introduction you did mention it's a paradoxically old technology, right?
Yeah.
So it's an amalgamation of 3 different technologies which has been very innovatively put together. You might have heard peer-to-peer network, right?
Correct.
People used to download music, torrent, right? Back then, right? Somebody uploads, other downloads, right? Peer-to-peer. Then you had cryptographic nature, right?
Correct.
So today, our entire enterprise architecture, be it Web 2 or this thing, it's holded by cryptography. And then you have distributed computing system, right? So when you combine all these 3 together, you end up with blockchain, right? So that's the first insight, that blockchain was always there. Somebody has put together 3 technologies together to come up with blockchain.
So let me understand these 3 technologies first, right? So you're talking about cryptography.
Right.
Is this not what is used in the world of cybersecurity?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been there for decades now, right? So your public key, private key infrastructure today, all the banking, all the mission critical infrastructure uses this technology, right?
So how does it fit into blockchain?
Yeah, so see, blockchain, what it guarantees you is immutability, right? It's like a database one way. Right?
Immutability means?
The data cannot be tampered with, right? It's a one-way database.
It's like a write once.
Absolutely, one-way database, right? So now, let me give you an example, right? When we talk about any value chain, right? Say manufacturing, supply chain, or retail, you have many stakeholders, right?
Correct.
So the product from A to the consumer, it goes to different channels.
Correct.
And every stakeholder has its own database.
Yes.
Right? So if I have 7 stakeholders, right? So I'm talking about 7 different databases. And that single piece of information has to go through 7 different databases.
And they will never agree with each other.
100%. Reconciliation becomes very expensive.
Yes.
So what blockchain offers is, it's a single software, single database where everybody has the same access. So it's what you see is what I see.
Is this not what was the world of ERP?
No, so ERP is again very company specific. I'll give you selective access as per my need, right? I can only show you what I want to show to you, right? But blockchain, it's decentralized. And again, I think we have to understand what is the difference between distributed and decentralized.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yeah.
So Google Docs, right? We all can collaborate across the globe in a single Excel sheet.
Correct.
But do we know who manages it?
No.
It is again Google.
Yes.
Right? So it's distributed but not decentralized.
Okay.
Now coming to decentralized, it's distributed but not a single entity own it. Right?
Oh, wait. This is confusing.
Right.
So you're saying, look, if I have a record that I want to put on this decentralized infrastructure, you're saying this infrastructure is present all over the world.
Exactly.
And I don't know who owns it?
Everybody owns it. So the point here is the same record will be, if say, there are 100 people in the network,
correct,
100 people have a copy, right? So if you want to change anything in that record, 100 people will come to know. So you will not be taking unilateral decision to change.
Okay. So it gets copied over in 100 different systems.
Exactly, sir.
And each person obviously owns their system.
100%. So that's your Bitcoin network, right?
Yes,
which has more than 100,000 nodes. Right? So if anybody changes anywhere, the remaining systems will come to know and they will collectively decide.
The moment you say Bitcoin, my ears goes up. So Bitcoin is also based on blockchain?
Yes, that's the fundamental underlying technology. So Bitcoin is the use case sitting on the top of blockchain.
Okay. Right? So that's why Bitcoin is quote unquote immutable. It cannot be destroyed.
100%, right? And that's the first primary use case which blockchain technology has.
Okay.
Right.
The other word that I hear whenever we say blockchain is Web 3.0. Right? What's the relationship between blockchain and Web 3.0?
So again, I'll give you a historical perspective to this, right? Today, our internet is called Web 2, and we started from Web 1, right? The journey way it started is 2 decades back. It was information only, right? You just used to consume static information, right? There was no way for you to participate.
Yes.
Say Yahoo.com, whatever it said, you just consumed it. Then we moved to the platform-based economy, where players like Google, Facebook came. So it gave you an opportunity to participate, right?
Yes.
You used to.
I can now upload what
stuff.
I had for breakfast, for lunch, dinner, etc. Okay.
So right, it's a two-way transaction.
Yes.
So, but this thing had a fundamental problem, structural problem, I would say, that lack of privacy.
Okay.
Right. You never had control of your data.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And then you had algorithmic biases. You don't know what kind of information is going where, right?
Okay.
Inbuilt, right?
Yes.
And then you had centralization, right? Your data is being controlled by someone else,
correct,
right?
Correct.
So these three fundamental problems actually resulted in the creation of Web3, which is like nothing but decentralized internet, right?
Okay.
So it's an umbrella term for a collection of technologies together, which includes blockchain.
Okay, so there is more than blockchain in Web3.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So Web3 is an umbrella term, which is decentralized internet where user has the power to control his own data. So, for example, your data, you can give access. Who should get it, right?
But is that not what I do? For example, with my WhatsApp, if I can create a WhatsApp group and just include 5 of my friends. Nobody else can see it. Is it not a same
thing?
So
that's the data consumption.
Yeah.
Like for example, your preferences. You like South Indian movies.
Correct.
You like Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
So that's your preference, right?
Yeah.
You like medical fitness. You are a fitness freak. So this sort of information, your preferences, actually is the data which company wants. They sell it to third party, and this is how you see your targeted ads.
Okay.
So if you go to internet and you are thinking to buy a car,
Yeah.
you might see that ad right popping in front of you, right?
Okay.
So how does that happen?
How do they know? Yes.
Right. So this is how your data is being circulated to different third
So now we are saying that's going to be more private, and I will
100%.
share exactly what I want.
And you get monetized for it, sir. Your data, your money, right? It's not belonging to a centralized server anymore. So that's the beauty which Web3 is intending to bring to the broken structure.
So this is an interesting question. So blockchain seems to be more mature than Web3. Is that fair?
I would not say that. Again, it's a part of this entire gamut of technologies.
Okay.
But the reason blockchain is getting more traction than other is, again, you see cryptocurrencies, a lot of hype happening.
Correct.
And, people getting crazy, right? That delusion of becoming overnight rich is what taking blockchain,
absolutely.
Subsiding any other technology right now.
So if blockchain, and I think both of us agree that it is pretty old, right?
Right.
And yet people are still only talking about it. Why is there not mass adoption? Why is there, or not, at least not perhaps mass, but why is there not widespread adoption of it yet?
And this is my favorite question. I love this answering any point of time, right?
Yeah.
So what is happening is blockchain has a typical marketing problem. right? The way it has been positioned is the remedy for any problem in the world, right? That's the way it has been positioned.
Yes,
right?
yes,
and
yes.
that is not the case, right? Because I've been into this field, I've seen ground reality. People have tried to put blockchain as a solution for things which does not require, right? It's like a vaccine finding the disease, or a solution going backwards to find the problem. Right?
Yeah.
So you need to have a proper use case defined. You need to really know, if blockchain is gonna give you internal operational efficiency or a customer experience from external. So you really need to do your homework very well, right? It is just like another technology which has to follow the process. But there are people, the self, experts who have tried to pitch blockchain for anything and everything. And there are people on the other end of the spectrum who are still very cautious. They don't know like how blockchain can benefit me. They're still at the starting point, right? So we need to find that middle ground and really make blockchain very pragmatic, right? Again, there are companies, and Web3, when I specifically say that, right? They have kind of made this technology aspect at the forefront, and the business models have come a backseat, right?
It's by the technical guys, for the technical guys, of the technical guys.
100%. Because what I personally believe is your business model, technology is always an enabler.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to make a sustainable business model, and that is how you bring technology into picture, right? But Web3 is it's plagued by this problem where you talk technology, but you don't have a sustainable business model, right? So I'm hoping that common sense will prevail down the line. There will be collateral damage. You might see a lot of scams happening, but that's a part of the journey, right? Until such time you see the convergence between regulators, innovators, and other stakeholders, you will continue to see this problem.
But there has also been a lot of press around, for example, the Dubai government using this,
right?
The blockchain technology. Yes. What did they find beneficial in making use of it?
Again, even Indian government, few states I've seen, they've adapted to the blockchain technology for proper use cases, right? Like say land registry in Maharashtra, right? Birth certification, registration in West Bengal, right?
So they are using blockchain today?
Yes, they are using blockchain, right? So very specific, pinpoint, razor sharp use case defined, and you're using blockchain. So Dubai, again, they wanted to be at the forefront of this revolution. And they very nicely, kind of formed a regulatory body, right? And kind of opened the gateways for the rest of the world to become crypto-friendly jurisdiction. And what we have noticed is that, initially even, regulators might not have that knowledge about, what is happening. But when people come in, submit their application, regulators, read
slowly more. They'll get comfortable with it.
They get more comfortable, and now today, for like say registration for my organization in Dubai, we went there. So regulators are way ahead, right now they know nuances of the technologies, and they're asking very razor sharp question, right, which you need to answer. So that's the way I see forward. When regulators are aware of the nuances of the technology, and they keep in mind the your investors' protection, right? How do we protect them? Because technology, they always have this technology neutral approach, right?
Absolutely.
Be it AI.
And that's natural. Every government will have that. Correct.
But they have an upper hand in terms of taking that leapfrog.
So what kinds of applications do you see emerging over the next 3 to 5 years? Combination of Web3 and blockchain, if you will.
So see, to be very honest, right now every domain is actually doing some sort of POC on blockchain. Right? There will be no domain untouched, say 5 years down the line.
So we're talking, of course, government applications. We're talking healthcare.
Yes, we are talking healthcare. We are talking financial, supply chain. Your retail.
I also understand that even in the world of education, universities are moving marks cards onto blockchain.
100%, sir. That is, for example, sir, if 15 years down the line, if somebody wants to request his transcripts, right? You know the process today. It's very cumbersome, right? You got to reach out to university. But if it's a blockchain based, where it can be accessed within seconds across the globe.
Correct.
So that's a very fantastic use case. So, but as I said, every domain is trying something POC, but there are few domains which have taken the leapfrog, which are way ahead, which is finance. It's a natural,
absolutely. The immutability is the key word there, right? I agree with you.
So finance there are a lot of prominent use cases. Banking is taking the forefront in this thing. You have healthcare, right? Now, for example, I want to give you a very specific example: clinical trials, right? In healthcare, it has a lot of problems, right? From data privacy to storing the results of the clinical trial. Now, blockchain can be one solution which can actually eliminate the entire.
So blockchain doesn't mean it has to be at scale. That's
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It depends on the use case again,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I look at blockchain in two ways, right?
Yeah.
If you are using internally within the organization,
Yeah.
I'm looking at improving my operational efficiency,
Fair.
right?
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at a third party, right, where I'm collaborating with stakeholders,
Correct.
right? So I'm trying to create a new revenue stream or creating a new business model, right? So there are two ways to look at how blockchain is actually used for you, right?
Now I'm speaking like a naive citizen. I use DigiLocker from our government, right?
Right.
Is that blockchain enabled?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But eventually it will be, right? Digi Yatra,
Yeah.
the one which you use at
Correct.
airport today
Yeah.
in Bangalore, it is on blockchain, right?
Oh, really?
Yes. So you
Digi
will,
Yatra is on blockchain.
yes. So you will be able to use, slowly, steadily, you will see innovation happening, right? Again, we are 1.5 billion people, right?
Absolutely.
So every use case has to be very foolproof, thoroughly
Absolutely,
tested.
absolutely.
And to be very frank, while I was doing my MBA, I was posed this question that Singapore is, at the forefront of technological revolution. So I asked them a simple question, see the size of population, right? Right. So whatever is the population.
For us, everything is multiplied X times, right? So
100%. So whatever the population is of Singapore is the sample size for our test cases,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So this is how it works. So we are very cautious, and I appreciate the Indian government's forward thinking in
Correct.
terms of how they are planning the regulation. They might be slow,
Okay.
but I think they are looking for every citizen, right?
Yeah.
Not just tech-savvy people
Absolutely,
and regulatory
absolutely,
blockchain,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So that is the way I think, and it has to be that way.
Okay. Now, if I am as a professional, now I could be an engineer, I may not be an engineer,
Mhm.
I could be a BFSI professional.
Right.
What should I do to become conversant with this technology, to become an expert on this? What are the areas that I need to learn
Okay.
to start working in this technology? Let's take it at two. One is as a user,
Mm-hmm.
right, a common man,
Right.
and the other is as a professional who's going to build such infrastructure or create such infrastructure.
Absolutely. So I'll it's a twofold answer.
Yeah.
For an end user, I think, from an experience point of view, technology never matters, right? It's the experience.
You're right. I mean, for example, I did not know that Digi Yatra was based on blockchain.
Correct.
So it's
Correct.
completely transparent.
And
okay.
that's the way it should be,
should be,
right?
it should
It should be a back-end component.
Correct.
Where user is getting the benefit of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. But from a very professional point of view,
Yeah.
if you want to participate, build solution, so you need to understand the nuts and bolts of this technology. Again, it's open source technology. No one owns it.
Okay.
Right. It's an open source.
So no company is making money out of it.
There are people. See, if you look at public blockchain and enterprise blockchain,
Okay.
right, there are two ways to look at it. So enterprise blockchain is very catered to enterprise use cases, right? Because no company wants to have their data lying in
Outside
public.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
But
again,
hey, you just told me it is anyway protected.
correct.
I can't look at your data, for example.
Correct. So if your use case demands privacy,
Yeah.
then you opt for a enterprise blockchain, right? But if your use case demands public transparency, right, then you go for
okay,
public,
okay,
right?
okay.
So if 5 stakeholders, 5 big banks trying to collaborate together, they will opt for, because they don't want the rest of the world to see what these 5 banks are doing, right?
I agree.
Right.
And but on the other hand, for example, cryptocurrencies are on a public infrastructure.
Public blockchain, right? Everybody can see the transaction.
Absolutely.
And again, you might not get the personal details of the transaction, but you can see this wallet has done transaction on this wallet.
So,
right?
so from a technology perspective, what are the things I have to learn if I want to work in this area, in this domain?
Correct. So again, people who want to dwell in this technological front, there are multiple ways to look at it, right? And again, looking at the use cases, you might be well versed in BFSI.
Yeah.
You might be well
So that is my domain. Right?
Domain,
So
right?
supply chain, BFSI, etc.
Exactly.
This is my domain. Okay.
Exactly. So my first thing, what I tell people, and I've guided many youngsters in this, you need to understand the domain.
Yeah.
See, technologically, I've seen people, they learn blockchain and they devise use cases where they don't know where they're going to fit in, right? They don't want to force. But if you know the domain, BFSI, and you find that gap, right?
So you'll appreciate the problem in that domain and therefore an appropriate solution.
Exactly, right? So there it makes more sense once you have this problem statement.
Yeah.
You understand. I've been telling that Web3 cannot be in isolation. Web3 is a natural extension of Web2, right? But what today is happening is people have created kind of an alienated state where Web3 is like out of the world,
Yeah.
right?
Science
I know
fiction.
Web3, science fiction,
Yeah.
you can say that, right?
Yeah.
Even myself, when I go to some websites,
Yeah.
I feel intimidated, right?
Yeah, correct.
Very heavy duty customer experience at the back end,
Yes.
But
Absolutely,
end of the day, customer experience should be the priority,
Correct.
and it should lead you backward towards the technology, right? So this is how we have.
So do I have to understand distributed ledgers and cybersecurity and Web3 and programming languages before I can even start participating?
I would say yes, because if you're going to develop a solution, right? If you're a tech professional who really wants to build mature solution, it makes sense that he understands the nuts and bolts of the technology and 360-degree view of the platform, right? Which includes your cybersecurity, which includes programming language, which requires integration with other technologies, right? If any solution which says that blockchain is the only tech stack we are using, it's a recipe for disaster. Blockchain will be game changer in amalgamation with other technologies, right? Because you have a lot of.
So give me an example where I can. What do you mean by this?
See, you have blockchain is a back-end technology, right? So you have a lot of front-end technologies, right? So now, depending on the use case, if you really want to prove the provenance of the data, for example, your luxury assets, your medical, records, right? If you want to prove the provenance, it's a back-end technology, right?
Correct.
From a front-end point of view, I'm still using my traditional web stack architecture, right?
Okay.
Right.
So I need to understand that piece as well, so that the end user gets a seamless experience.
Exactly. And this is how, when a use case has a very natural convergence between emerging technologies.
Correct.
And for example, the upcoming is blockchain and AI. They've really figured out they've started working together now. Earlier it was AI working in its own domain, and then you had the chat GPT moment, right? So 50 years down the line, you will see that before chat GPT and post chat GPT. Earlier AI was still there. But after chat GPT, it is on everybody's desktop.
Yes.
People know how to use it, right? So, but blockchain has still not cracked that. The moment has not come. Chat GPT moment is yet to arrive for blockchain.
But how do they integrate AI with blockchain? What do you mean by that?
So AI blockchain, again, convergence will happen where a lot of Web2 companies are making their front end very intelligent, AI based front ends, right? So when you are making your front end AI enabled, and your blockchain is a back end,
data storage
mechanism, this is how you have a very unified tech stack.
So it's not playing. So AI is not playing directly on the blockchain infrastructure itself, but more on the UI part of it, the user experience part of it.
Exactly, right? So see, both technology has its own limitations, right? So if they work in tandem with each other, they will try to neutralize and bring a very unified tech stack.
If I were to delve a little deeper into Web3 and blockchain, right? What is the marriage between the two? Why would you told me that Web3 is about you owning your data, you deciding who can see it, etc. But that's also what blockchain claims, right?
Correct.
Like you said, these 5 banks may have a private blockchain, which only they can see. So why do I need this Web3 on top of that?
See, again, blockchain is an integral component of Web3. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So as I said, Web3 is an umbrella term. Underneath, you have a series of technologies together, which makes Web3. So blockchain holds the most important part, which is your provenance, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. It's like a ledger database which Web3 will be using, right? Because if you remove blockchain, you are looking at Web2 now, because anybody can edit your information.
Correct.
Right. The moment my database becomes one way, if my
so now I'm going to put you on the spot. Are we then saying Web2 plus blockchain is equal to Web3?
You can call that. Eventually, yes, you can call that. Right. But there are series of other technology as well, which is making this infrastructure also, right? Blockchain related Web3 infrastructure, right? So, but in essence, what you said is correct. Blockchain holds the fundamental piece.
So when you say there are other technologies, give us a couple of examples.
There are a lot of emerging IoTs there, Internet of Things. You have blockchain in association with this is game changer, right? Now, for example, for a smart city project, or any medical use case where IoT will fetch you data, in petabytes, right? So how do you make sure the information is not tampered with? Right. So blockchain is the.
So virtually, in this Web3 infrastructure, blockchain plus all forms of sources of data.
Right.
It could be IoT, it could be social media, anything, user generated data. All of those kinds of data come together along with blockchain. then I could also say any analytics that is run on this data is also part of Web3, because like you said, AI in the front end, right? There must be some analytical engine in the back end.
100%, 100%.
So that can also be part of this Web3. So
it can be.
Okay.
See, it can be. So the moment I tell you that this data is coming from blockchain-based system, you can be guaranteed that it is tamper-proof, immutable, right?
Correct.
And if it is not, because today in current databases, what is happening is, you can actually do, update, delete anything which you want to, and remove the trail.
Yes.
Right. Very seamlessly you can remove it. But in blockchain, the moment you do, all the systems will make the noise, and you will know who is the culprit. Right.
So you can actually find out who tried to tamper with it.
Yes, the system which is non in consensus, right? So the way blockchain works is, every system has to check with each other consensus.
Correct.
And the moment the system which is trying to behave very mischievous, right, is trying to update the records, you will come to know that his record are not in match with other 99 records. So the system will collectively throw him out.
So it's like a voting mechanism.
Voting mechanism, yes. Consensus is voting basically, right? So you will throw him out. That you try to behave, and again, blockchain is not technology, it's a governance technology. It's not a tech, it's a governance technology, right?
What's the difference?
So it is basically creating an incentivize for people to behave properly, right? Now, for example, it's a governance tech. For me, it's a governance tech because we are humans, right?
We want to be in control.
Correct. So if you don't have that incentivization, how do we act properly in a system which has 100,000 systems? Right.
Fair.
Right. So, for example, Bitcoin. Right. So Bitcoin is that token which actually helps incentivize miners, right?
Yes.
And for example, your private blockchain, right? Enterprise blockchain, where 5 banks are working together. What is their incentivization, right? So by doing properly things,
I mean, the very fact that I can get thrown out if I misbehave is enough of an incentive, right? So I lose access to all the data if I get thrown out.
Correct. So that's the thing.
One of the things that that I've constantly heard when it comes to blockchain is there is something called a hash key function.
Right.
This is always okay. I mean, it has kind of excited me, but it's always confused me. What on earth is this hash key function?
Again, I'll take you to the technical journey. I'll try to make it very consumer for you.
Please.
Now, blockchain, right? So it's nothing but a series of blocks, right?
Okay.
And each block has series of data. It can be any data.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So now block A, right? It has a hash key.
Okay.
Right? It might be having 100 GB of data, right?
Okay. And so one block can have 100 GB of data.
I'm giving an example.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just an example.
Okay.
So it can have any number of transactions.
Okay.
Right? And the moment the block is completed, you generate a hash key.
Okay.
Right? Now what happens is, if anybody tries to tamper that data, the hash key changes. Right? Okay. So now my block 1 is secured. Then I move to block B. Now block B has 2 hash keys. One is from the previous block, and one of its own block.
Okay.
Right? So what happens is, if I change block A, my block B's key changes. Okay. So likewise, all the blocks get
subsequently get invalidated.
So this is how I find my culprit.
And that's how you know it is immutable. Nobody can play around with it because of this kind of.
So this is the cryptographic use of blockchain, right? Very innovative use. That each block will have 2 hash keys, one of the previous block and one of its current block.
Correct.
So the moment you tampered with the previous block, all the blocks get invalidated.
You literally, what we are doing is kind of casting it in stone. So for example, if I took my old passbook in the days when we had passbooks, and if the bank gave this to me kind of carved out of stone, I can't change it, right?
Correct. Yes.
And that's what you're really saying. You can't change it once it is carved into
So what goes in, it's a one way, right? So again, when blockchain started, I would say 2019-20, there was serious problem of garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely.
So the moment you put garbage in, it's there forever, right? But now there are sufficient checks and balances in place.
Correct.
Where only proper information goes into the database, right? So this is how.
So I mean, super interesting, and I think we can go down this path forever. Create our own blockchain of this, right?
Correct.
But I'd like to ask you a final question. If I'm interested in a career in this space, will it take off?
100%, sir. If not today, tomorrow, yes. Because as I said, every industry today is trying use cases based on that domain.
Okay.
Right? So if you really want to participate, if you really want to be at the forefront of technological revolution, then this is the right time to start dwelling into the fundamentals of the technology, right? Because there might be different blockchains available, but the fundamental functioning of blockchain stays the same,
yeah.
right? The consensus mechanism, the hash key. But if you understand this ecosystem properly,
Correct.
then the domain expertise plays a very crucial role, right? So you being a blockchain developer
Yeah.
or blockchain architect, and you have zero knowledge about the domain, because this,
It's not going to work. It's not going
yeah,
to work.
because whatever you create actually gets immutable on the blockchain. So you don't want to create something which breaks and there is no control, right?
Yeah.
So you really need to understand the domain
Correct.
and build use cases surrounding it which are sustainable, and very right time for anybody to dwell, because it's an open source. Earlier what used to happen, like for example your big software companies,
Correct.
when they used to launch, it was a very proprietary kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Very less access to the information,
Correct.
very less tech guidance. But now you Google it, right? You have a lot of information to digest.
Correct.
But only thing what I see missing is a structured approach to build something. And I think this is where like companies like UNext, what they're doing, build a very structured course.
Correct.
So that people get a head start
Absolutely.
across domains,
Yeah.
and they feel comfortable, right? Okay, now that I know the technology, I know my domain, I can proceed ahead, right? If this code is cracked, then we are looking at mass adoption from a developer point of view. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all of this. So dear listeners, dear viewers, there you have it. Blockchain is an up and coming technology. It's an area that's going to explode over the next 10 years, for sure. There are any number of reasons why companies, governments and associations would embrace blockchain going forward, and it moves beyond just the world of cryptocurrencies. If you want to get into this domain, if you want to start participating in this area, for sure you need to understand the application domain, whether it is BFSI, whether it is supply chain, whether it is retail, whether it is just a government organization that you're working for. You need to understand the domain. That's the beginning. On top of that, you need to get comfortable with computer science. You need to know software inside out. You need to get comfortable with a little bit of arithmetic. The hashing keys that we're talking about does need some mathematical background, but not too complex. It's something that you can very comfortably start working on. But you do also need to understand the blockchain infrastructure itself, the hardware and software that goes with it. Last but not least, you need to understand the UI and the UX, all of which come together to generate this Web 3.0 experience for the end user. I'm hoping that with this introductory insight into this, you will get a little bit more interested in this technology and you will start building your competence in this area. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure, sir.
It was a pleasure listening to you, and I'm hoping that we get many more such opportunities.
Absolutely. So look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.